Gang stalking is a psychological and spiritual attack that seeks to control, destroy, or terminate the life of the target using deception and fear as primary tools. For the attack to be effective, it has to be implemented together with other forms of attacks, like smear campaign, black magic, occult practices, and other forms of deceptive strategies, which we will explore in depth in this series. A smear campaign is an attack strategy that seeks to destroy the character of the target by spreading lies about him. A very common example of this could be deceiving other people to believe that the target is mentally unstable. Black magic is the use of dark arts and other forms of negative energy practices to manipulate the target and project fear onto them. The primary goal of the attacker is to trap the target in the state of fear and isolate them from the rest of the world. Essentially, the attacker is trying to force the target in a situation where they can impose their will on the target. And in that process, they're doing a lot of criminal things to the target behind the scenes that they cannot afford to be known publicly for. And so in the attacker's mind, the attack cannot fail, because if it does, and the target do not submit to their will, then it's possible for the target to expose these evil activities to the rest of the world. That is why every psychic attack, including gang stalking, has 3 stages in general: control, alternate, or delete. The first stage of a gang stalking attack is the control stage. This is the stage where the attacker tries to impose their will upon the target. At this stage, the attacker will be using many deceptive strategies to try to control the target. These strategies include smear campaign, black magic, and other forms of occult practices, like summoning entities from other dimensions, typically the 4th dimension, to create an illusion in the life of the target. Now, if the attacker succeeds in subduing the target, then of course the attack subsides, because at that point they've achieved their main goal. But if the plan to control the target do not succeed, then the attacker have to find an alternative plan to permanently silence the target. This is where plan B comes into play. Alternate is the next stage of a gang stalking attack. At this stage, the attacker has one goal: to make the target worthless. So the attacker's alternative plan is to force the target into madness, because in that state, no one gets to listen to the target, even if they have something important to say. The attacker is using many demonic tactics to achieve this plan, including smear campaign, black magic, food poisoning, witchcraft. Now, if the alternative plan to make the target useless also fails, the last and final plan of the attacker is to delete the target, which means to unalive him. In general, these are the 3 stages of gang stalking and every other form of psychic attack: control, alternate, or delete. Now, if the plan to delete the target also fails, the attacker becomes terrified of the target, because at this point, they've done everything they know should have destroyed the target. And if the target is still standing, then they become confused. The main approach of the attacker in achieving the above goals is to create a fear-based illusion around the target, and then deceive the target into perceiving this illusion as real. And the attacker is taking advantage of a very common strategy that's been around for ages: conditioning. Conditioning is a strategy that's been used by the Matrix for most of the history of humanity, to condition humans to react to activities in predictable ways. By associating certain activities with danger and repeatedly projecting those activities onto the target, the attacker can eventually train the mind of the target to unconsciously create fear-based thoughts whenever those activities are performed around the target. And if the attacker can train the mind of the target to unconsciously create fear-based thoughts, then it becomes easy to trap the target in the state of fear, because your mind dictates your emotional states. More on that in this series. The attacker is using many deceptive tricks to create this fear-based illusion around the target, which we will explore most of them in this series. Some of these tricks include constantly stalking and pestering the target, which is where the name gang stalking comes from. Others include food poisoning, financial attacks, occult attacks, cyber attacks. All of these different forms of attacks are executed concurrently to create maximum confusion and chaos in the life of the target. And the worst part is, all of this is done entirely behind the scenes to create a surprising and shocking effect on the target, which I think is the superpower of gang stalking and every other form of spiritual attack.